Hi there. So one of the very first videos I did was to show you how to use the Tooltip shortcode that comes with Divi. If you haven't seen the video or you're not familiar with it, I will go ahead and link it in the show notes on my YouTube channel, or if you're on my website, dividude.com, it will be somewhere in the write-up. So this is what the Tooltip looks like. It allows you to take text and you can put more information if somebody hovers above it. So as you can see, with Divi it comes standard where it's white background with black text. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how to change the cursor. So you have the help cursor, which looks like this. And we're also going to change the styling of the tooltip so it's not a white background on black text. So here's what we're going to create. Alright, if you're ready, let's get started. Okay, so as you can see, I'm on my server right now, and we're going to go ahead and do all our code on my staging site. I like to use a staging site anytime I change code. That way it doesn't affect my live site until I'm ready to add it to my live site, and that just allows me to experiment a lot more with my code until I'm happy with it. So I've already logged into my staging site, so here we are. So what we're going to do is we are going to add custom CSS. So if we look at our shortcode here, if we inspect it, so I'm using Edge right now, so you can do this in Chrome, you can do this in Safari, and you can do this in Firefox. So I'm going to go ahead and inspect the element. So we can see the class for the tooltip is right here. It's ET tooltip. So we're going to come over here and we're going to copy the rule. So one of the things I recommend you do is keep a notepad open on your computer, and that way you can always paste in the code here and you have it in a handy place. Alright, so we have that. So we see there's another class here that's the tooltip's using, that's the tooltip box. So we're going to click on that. We're going to come over here, and again we're going to copy the rule, and I'll just go ahead and paste it here. And then we have one more. We have the tooltip arrow. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to click on that. We'll come over here. We'll copy the rule. And we'll come here in Notepad and we'll paste it. So those are the three primary classes that are affecting this tooltip. So now that we have the code that we need to change, so we're going to go ahead and close this out. We'll come back to our dashboard. So now I'm here in the Divi dashboard. So where you want to change the CSS is you either want to come up here to Appearance, Theme Editor, and if you have a child theme, you can put it in your child theme style sheet. You can come down here to Divi Theme Customizer, and you can put it in there, or you can just put it in Theme Options, and that's what we'll just do. So we'll just use Theme Options. And then we're just going to scroll down here to the Custom CSS. I'm just going to get rid of that so it's not on my screen. So the first thing I like to do, anytime I add CSS, I always like to put a note that tells me what this CSS does. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to change the cursor. So when we come over it, the cursor just becomes this little vertical line. Let's make it to the help cursor. So we come on here to our class. We don't want to mess with the relative. So we're just going to copy it for now and paste it. We don't need to worry about the relative. We're not changing that, so we can get rid of that, because what's going to happen is whenever you use custom CSS, so whenever you're using a child theme, or if you're using the custom CSS here in the theme options or the theme customizer, first thing Divi will do is it will look at the style sheet within Divi. It'll take all the CSS from that. Then it will look at your child theme and this custom CSS. If you have the same CSS, it will overwrite it with what you've put in. Or if you've added CSS, it will keep what it already has and then it will add what you put in. I hope that makes sense. So what we want to do is we want to add the cursor. So we're going to say cursor, and we want to add the help cursor. So we're going to go ahead and add help. So we're going to go ahead and change it. So let's see what it did. So as you can see, as you remember, we have the vertical line. So let's go ahead and refresh it. So as you can see, we now have our cursor is now changed. So whenever we come over this link, it will have the help cursor, which is that cursor with the question mark. And if you make the change, just so you know, if you do make the change and you don't see it, then you're going to want to clear your cache. So I know when I use Chrome to make a lot of changes, I usually have to clear my cache every time I make a custom CSS change. So keep that in mind. So if you don't see it, just clear your cache. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to change the background and font and all of that. So let's go ahead and do that. So we look at the code that we copied. That's going to be this tooltip box. So let's just copy that for now. So we're going to add that underneath here. And then let's just add the closing bracket and let's get it down there. So this is where, like say, we have the white background here. So we can change the color of the background, and we will do that with the background CSS. So I'm going to turn mine green. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. So we're going to change the background. Here we're going to make it green. So we're going to type in the color. Then we're going to type in important. You may not need this part right here, the important part. So try it without it. And if it doesn't change, then go ahead and add the important. So we're going to go ahead and save the changes. And let's see what happens. So we'll come back here. Remember, it's white. So we're going to go ahead and refresh it. So as you can now see, the background's green. Now we have a white border. And you'll see the arrow's white, and we're going to change the arrow later. That's going to be the last thing we change. So you're going to keep seeing a white arrow here until we change it. So if we look at this, I don't want this white border on it, and I don't want black text. So let's go ahead and change those. So what I want to do, I want to make the text white. To change the text color, we use color. Let's get these lined up. There we go. So again, we're going to use, so FFF is white, so we're going to change the white text color. Now here you can either add a new border or you can just get rid of the border. So if you want to add the border, a border color, and I'm going to make it the same color as the background. I'm doing all this just because sometimes I'll get a little line between the arrow and the background, and I don't want that. So that's a step we're doing a little later. Now again, you don't need, if you don't want the border, then you would put border none. Whoops. You'd put border none. So we'll just do that for real quick so I can show you. So let's go ahead and refresh it. Come over here. As you can see now there's no border and the text is white. All right, so let's go back. I'm going to put, just to be safe, I want to put that border color there. Just to be safe. So we're going to go ahead and do that. One of the things I want to do is I don't want that much of a curvature on the radius. So let's change the radius. So the radius, as you can, if you recall from our text right here, so there's a border radius of 10 pixels. So we'll go ahead and copy that. Now I don't want 10 pixels. So let's get these lined up. Oops. Let's get these lined up here. I'm just going to change it to 5 pixels. And we'll go ahead and save that change. So here's before, and this is going to be pretty subtle, but there's before. After we make that change, it's just a little bit less of a curve there. All right, and the other thing I do want to change is you can't tell it with this only because I have one line. But if I had like a paragraph here, I do want to make sure that there's enough room on the paragraph. So if I look at the line height, so we look at the line height, it's set to 18 pixels. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. We'll paste it here. And I'm going to get rid of the pixels. We'll make it 1.8. So that basically means it'll take whatever the font is and it'll multiply it by 1.8. So we're going to go ahead and make a 1.8, and we won't be able to see that change just because, again, I only have one line on my tooltip. But we'll save those changes. So another thing we want to do is, you'll see how it's way over here to the left. I want it to line up right here with it. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So again, if we look at the code, we'll see it has a minus. It has a negative 94 margin. So we want to change that. So if I want it to line up, then my margin would be 0. So we're going to change our margin to 0, save the changes, come up here. When we refresh it, so now you can see it's lined up here on the left, and you can also see my box is a little bit bigger, and that's because we changed the line height from 18 pixels to 1.8. Now, of course, there's a problem. That is, my arrow is no longer above the copy here. So I want to move this arrow over here, and we'll do that when we change this code, the Tooltip arrow CSS. So let's finish doing the box first. So one of the things I want to do, let's make the box move down a little bit more. So let's have a little bit of fun with it. So let's see, do we have a bottom? So we're going to change, the bottom here is set to 35 pixels. So let's go ahead and copy the bottom. So if we do a calculation, so CALC, tell it 100% plus, and make sure you have spaces here. So when you do this, make sure there's a space here. So we're going to go ahead and save the changes. Go ahead and refresh it. So you see how much it looks like the tooltip moved down a little bit further. The first time, it's not going to do it the second time. So let me really show you. Let's really change this number to say 235. So watch this. So watch this on the first time. See how it just came away from. So if you kind of like that effect, on the first time it'll do that. So we're gonna just make it 25 pixels. But go ahead and play with that. Do something that you like, that fits your site. I'm gonna just do 25 pixels, and I think I'll be happy with that. There we go. That looks good. So now I'm gonna change the font size. So I want to go, I think, a little bit bigger than what that is. So we look at the font. Let's see if they have the size set. I don't see, so they don't have the size set on the tooltip box. So we're going to go ahead and set our own then. So let's come here. So I'm going to make it 1.2 REMs, and we'll see how that looks. All right, so I think that's a little bit bigger. So let's go ahead. Again, one of the things I like to do to make sure this is actually doing something is I like to change the numbers so they're really off, and that way I can see. Yeah, so it is working. So we're going to make this a 1.2 REM. And one of the things I recommend, I mean, these are my settings. Have fun with your own. Change your own colors, do your own font sizes, change your own border radius. Now, you can't get too crazy with the border radius because of the arrow on the bottom. But just use your own styles here. Don't just copy mine. Use your own styles here. And that's one of the reasons I do it on a staging server. It's because I can go crazy and it's not affecting my site. No one else who might be on my site at that moment is going to see it until I decide they're going to see it. All right, so the last thing I want to do, I want to take a look at the padding. I know they have custom. So here we have 20, 25, 22, 25, and that's okay. That's okay, but I'm just going to do padding, and I'm just going to make it 15 all the way across. And let's go ahead. Let's make sure I save it and refresh it. There we go. And I think there's a drop shadow on there. Let's see, do we see a drop shadow anywhere? Oh, I changed, one thing I did do, I changed the radius, but we need to change the radius on these two as well. So let's do that before we do the drop shadow. So where's my border radius? There it is. So we're going to change. So, and this is for Chrome and Firefox for older versions. So, and these are for older browsers. So you'll see a lot of the code has that in there. All right. So now let's take a look at our drop shadow. So here, the box shadow, that's drop shadows. So I'm going to put my own box shadow in here. And so I'm going to try this one out. If you don't know how to create drop shadows, I did a video on it. Again, this was really early on, so I will link that. It's something where it still works in certain circumstances, but a lot of the times it's obsolete, as Divi did add the drop shadow to the module, so I don't use it as much. But in times like this, I still use it. So let's see what this looks like. So we added the drop shadow here. So there you go. And you can see how the drop shadow there is pretty, you can really see it now. Okay, so I think I'm done with the tooltip box, but now we need to do the tooltip arrow. So the tooltip arrow is this code right here. I'm going to copy all of this code. So right now, as you can see, we have this background URL. That's what this is right here. And you can see we have the left right here. It's at 129. That's why it's way over here, the arrow. So we're going to change a lot of this right here. We're not going to change position. We're going to keep that as absolute. So we're going to go ahead and delete that because it's going to use what's already there. So we don't need to change it or add to it. So we have a 13 bottom. I'm going to change that to 12. So I'll basically move it up just a little bit. I do want to change, I'm going to change my width to 20. Again, these are kind of things you can play with. I'm going to keep my height at 13. The big change I'm going to make from the code they've already given us is I want to get rid of the arrow they gave me. I don't want to use their graphic. So I'm going to put background none. So as I save it, you're going to see the arrow is going to disappear. So we have the white arrow there. When I save it, their arrow's gone because I said none. So if you like this, you're done. Just if you want no arrow there, you can get rid of all of this and you just have background none and you'll be good. You could probably also just put display none there and get rid of all the code, hit save, and you'll be good. So if you don't want the arrow, just put display none and you're okay. But I want to go back to where we were. All right. So we now need to change things. So we do need to change the left. So we want to change the left. We want to make it so it's further over here. I'm going to do about 25 pixels. All right. So here's the code. If you do this code right here, you can create a little arrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to add borders. So this right here will create a little triangle for you, and we're going to keep the same color as our background. And that's this is one of the reasons why we did not do a different color as a border around our tooltip, because of the arrow down here. So you want to go ahead and add a border top, make it about 13 pixels. Again, you can try to play with these numbers and see what you get, but I go with 13, 10, and 10 for the pixels for border top, left and right. Make them solid. This one you want to have the same color, and these two are going to be transparent. So let's go ahead and save changes. And as you can see now, we now have a green arrow. It is on the left-hand side. It melds in it with it nice. All right, so the last thing I want to do is sometimes you want to have a little icon right after here with the question mark or that little eye symbol that people can hover over and they get that tip. So let me show you how to do that. So what we want to do, we're going to be in our options. That's going to be, we're going to do that here with the tooltip, but we don't want to use this. So we're going to just go ahead and copy the tooltip here. And let's just go ahead and put it right underneath. So, and then make sure you close the bracket. What we wanted to do, we wanted to show up here after the tooltip. So we're going to put tooltip after. And we want an icon to show up. So we're just going to use the icons that come with elegant themes. If you want to use another one, the principles will be the same, except for you just need to load that font and change your font family to match it. But I will make sure I link this page in my show notes or on my website. And it shows you all the icons that you can use with elegant themes. And the ones that you typically will see with tooltips will be this one right here, this little eye with the circle. Or you may see the question mark, this one with the circle. And we're going to go ahead and use the question mark. So we're just going to come down here a little bit further. So here's the Unicode. And the way the Unicode works is, let's find the one we're going to use. Okay, we're going to use this one. So you can see the Unicode here. I think it's 8 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to ignore these first 3, and we're going to ignore the semicolon. So the Unicode so we need to worry about is the E064. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the content. So we're going to go ahead and put content, quotations, and we'll put the slash. And if we remember, the content from the Unicode was E064, and that will give us the question mark. And then be sure to finish it off with the semicolon. And then we need to make sure we have the font family. So we're going to add font family. And the font family is ET modules, because it's one of the ones that came with. Let's clean that up a little bit. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So if we refresh it, you'll see we now have the question mark right behind our content here. A couple problems. A, it's way too big. B, it's butted up here against the word. And C, I don't really like the dark black. So let's go ahead and change all of those. So let's change the color. I'm just going to go with a little bit lighter gray on this. So let's go with, let's just say 777. Again, feel free to change that to whatever you want. So we don't want it butting up against the word, last word. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of padding. I think 5 pixels should suffice. And I believe if we say font size, you can pick your own font. I'm just going to say 80%. That should make it 80% of the font size. So we'll go ahead and refresh it. So as you can see, it's now a little bit smaller. It's no longer butted up against, and it's gray. All right, so if you notice, the screen has really changed because I recorded the video you just watched a couple weeks ago, and I was finishing up the edits, and I realized I left something out that you may want to know how to do. So I'm adding this little addendum to the video. So what I want to show real quick is, what if you want to use the icon, but you don't want to use it with a sentence? How do you just have the icon like you see here? All right, let me show you how to do that. So remember, we've already in the CSS added the icon. So wherever you put up the tooltip, the icon's going to show up because that's what we added to our CSS. So let's go ahead, and here I am in the Visual Builder. So I'm going to put the icon here and here. So if you saw my video on how to add the tooltip, you recall the way to do that is you go bracket, tooltip, and then to get the text message that you want to appear, you put text equals, quotation, and then you want to enter in the text that you want to show up, and then you close the bracket. So I've already done that, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut and paste that. And then you go to the end of your tooltip, and then you close it out. So everything here is going to be a tooltip. So what if you don't want to have this, you just want the icon? Well, you do the same thing, but you do it wherever you want that icon to appear. So in this case, I want it after this sentence. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. I've got the bracket, the tooltip, the text that I want to appear in the tooltip pop-up, and then I'm going to close it out with nothing in between. So when we do that, again, if you come back here, that's what you get. Here, where I put the tooltip over here, and I closed it out here, you get this whole thing. On this one, where I didn't start the tooltip until the period, you only get the icon. So this actually is my preferred method when using a tip. I prefer just to have the little question mark or the I or something like that somebody just hovers over that to get the tip, as opposed to having the entire sentence or one word or 2 words be a tip. All right, let's go back to the ending of the video. So that's how you can customize the tooltip that comes with Divi. If you like the video, please hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. We'll see you next time.